Mellisa had 1 minute to decide. Press that button and end the bullies, or suffer in silence. She pressed it. The 4 boys mocking her wheelchair had 11 minutes of laughter left. The man she summoned had never broken a promise. This is a story about a girl who gave up her ability to walk, saving a stranger's puppy. Now bullies circle her like wolves, drowning her in mockery. But strapped to her wrist is a weapon they can't see, and the killer who gifted her is just a button press away. Before we proceed, please hit the subscribe now or miss the next chapter. Drop your city and time below. Here's what divides everyone. Did Mellisa do the right thing pressing that button, or should she have handled those bullies alone? Your answer reveals everything. Defend it. The watch felt heavier than it should. Mellisa Norman caught herself staring at it again, sleek silver against her dark skin, expensive enough to pay 3 months' rent on Norman's kitchen. But it wasn't the cost that made her pulse quicken every time she glanced at the red button embedded in its side. It was the promise attached to it. Press this and I'll come, no matter what, no matter where. She hadn't seen Jordan Keels in 4 months, not since the hospital, not since he placed this impossible gift on her bedside table and disappeared like smoke, leaving her with questions she couldn't answer and a debt she'd never asked for. The lunch rush had thinned to scattered customers nursing coffee. Mellisa wheeled herself between tables, wiping down surfaces with practiced efficiency. Her uncle's jerk seasoning hung in the air, warm, familiar, home. These worn vinyl booths held 30 years of memories, her childhood, her family, her entire world, really. 6 months ago, she'd walked these floors without thinking, carried plates with both hands, danced between tables during the dinner rush. 6 months ago, everything was different. The bell above the door chimed, and Mellisa looked up to see 4 young men swagger inside, their laughter too sharp for the quiet afternoon. She recognized the leader immediately, Tim Bowen, neighborhood kid turned neighborhood problem. Their eyes met, and his smile turned predatory. Melissa's thumb brushed against the watch. Not yet, she told herself. But somewhere deep in her gut, she knew this afternoon was about to go very wrong. 4 months earlier, rain hammered the pavement as Mellisa locked Norman's kitchen, her umbrella fighting a losing battle against the wind. Tuesday nights were always slow, but tonight the storm had kept everyone home, just her and the ghosts of family dinners past. The whimpering cut through the rain, desperate, pained, utterly helpless. She found the puppy in the gutter 3 storefronts down, German Shepherd, maybe 4 months old, bleeding from a gash on its leg. Its eyes found hers, and Mellisa didn't hesitate. She scooped the trembling animal into her arms, pressing it against her chest. The emergency vet was 3 blocks north. She could make it if she ran. She never saw the car blow through the red light. The impact felt like being hit by a building, a moment of compression, then nothing. When she woke, she was on her back in the rain, unable to feel her legs. The puppy was gone. Sirens screamed somewhere in the distance. A stranger's face appeared above her, rain streaming down his weathered features. "Stay still," he said. "Help's coming." But all Mellisa could think was, did the puppy survive? 3 surgeries later, she had her answer. The puppy was fine, belonged to someone important, the nurses whispered, someone who wanted to meet her, someone who paid for everything. That's when Jordan Keels walked into her hospital room, holding a bouquet of flowers that looked uncomfortable in his hands, and said the words that would change everything. "You saved something I love. Now let me return the favor." "Well, well," Tim Bowen's voice carried across Norman's kitchen like a challenge. "Look who's still playing waitress." Mellisa forced her customer service smile into place, the one her uncle taught her years ago. Kill them with kindness. That's how you win. "Welcome to Norman's," she said, keeping her voice level. "What can I get you?" Tim exchanged glances with his 3 friends, boys she recognized from around the neighborhood.
They'd been coming in more often lately, always leaving just enough of a mess to be irritating, never quite enough to justify kicking them out. "How about you get up and walk over here to take our order?" one of them said, then erupted into laughter. The words hit like a physical blow, but Mellissa's hands didn't shake as she grabbed her notepad. She'd heard worse, survived worse. This was just Tuesday afternoon cruelty from boys who'd never learned better. She wheeled around the counter, and Tim casually moved a chair into her path. "Oops," he said, as she had to stop, adjust, navigate around the obstacle. "My bad." The other customers were watching now. An elderly couple by the window, a businessman on his laptop, the cook visible through the kitchen pass-through. Witnesses to her humiliation, but no one who'd intervene. This was her battle. Mellisa reached their table and flipped open her notepad. "What would you like?" "Everything," Tim said, "and make it quick." For the next 20 minutes, they ordered and reordered, sent back food for imaginary problems, made her retrieve condiments one at a time. Each request designed to make her wheel back and forth, a performance for their amusement. Her uncle's voice echoed in her memory. "Baby girl, some people are just broken inside. Don't let them break you too." But when Tim accidentally knocked her notepad to the floor and stepped on it as she reached down, something inside Mellisa started to crack.
We know you are enjoying the story. This is about to get more interesting. Don't go away. Please hit that subscribe button as we have more interesting stories to give you daily. Let's continue with our story.
"Please," Mellisa heard herself whisper, staring at her notepad under Tim's sneaker. "Please just leave me alone." Tim leaned forward, close enough that she could smell the beer on his breath. "Or what? You gonna run away?" The pause hung in the air like a blade. Oh wait, his grin was vicious. The laughter from his friends hit her in waves. The businessman closed his laptop. The elderly couple looked away. Even the cook disappeared from the window. Nobody was coming to help. Melissa's hands trembled as she picked up the notepad, now dirty with the imprint of Tim's shoe. She'd spent 6 months in physical therapy learning to navigate the world from this chair. 6 months of rebuilding her strength, her independence, her sense of self. She'd fought through pain that would have broken most people. And here was Tim Bowen, treating her like entertainment. "What's wrong?" Tim's voice dripped with mock concern. "Cat got your tongue? Or should I say, legs?" More laughter, always more laughter. Melissa's hand drifted to the watch on her wrist. Her thumb found the small red button, smooth and cool under her touch. "This is my battle," she thought. "I don't need saving. I don't need anyone." But even as she thought it, exhaustion washed over her. She was so tired. Tired of being strong. Tired of proving herself. Tired of fighting for basic human dignity from people who saw her disability as permission to be cruel. Tim reached across the table and deliberately knocked her water glass into her lap. The cold shock made her gasp, water soaked through her jeans, pooling in her chair. "Oops," Tim said, his smile never wavering. And something in Mellisa, not her spirit, but her restraint, finally broke. Her thumb pressed down. The button clicked. The watch didn't make a sound. No confirmation beep, no vibration, no signal that anything had happened at all. For a heartbeat, Mellisa wondered if she'd imagined the click, if the promise Jordan had made 4 months ago had been just that, words from a stranger who felt temporarily guilty. But then she remembered his eyes in the hospital room, the way he'd looked at her when he placed the watch on the bedside table. That wasn't pity, that was something else entirely, something that felt like an oath. Tim was still laughing, performing for his friends, basking in the attention of the other customers who pretended not to watch. He didn't know, couldn't know. To him, this was just another Tuesday, another vulnerable target, another story he'd tell later about putting someone in their place. Mellisa grabbed napkins from the dispenser and tried to dry herself, her hands moving on autopilot while her mind raced. What had she done? Was Jordan even in the city? Would he actually drop everything and come to a small restaurant in a forgettable neighborhood because some girl he barely knew pressed a button? And if he did come, then what? She didn't even know what Jordan Keels really was. A businessman, the nurses had said, but nurses whispered things about connections, about power that didn't announce itself, about men who operated in the shadows of the city's legitimate face. Tim ordered another round of sodas, making her wheel back to the counter, back to the table, playing his little game of dominance. 8 minutes had passed. The door didn't open. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe the watch was just a watch. Maybe promises from men like Jordan Keels didn't apply to situations like this. Petty cruelty in a small restaurant, miles away from whatever world he actually inhabited. 10 minutes. Mellisa delivered the sodas, her professional mask firmly back in place. She wouldn't let Tim see her hope, wouldn't give him the satisfaction. 11 minutes. The door opened, and everything changed.
The temperature in Norman's kitchen dropped. That was Melissa's first thought. Nonsensical, impossible, but undeniable. The moment Jordan Keels stepped through the door, the air itself seemed to shift, growing heavier, more charged, like the atmosphere before lightning strikes. He didn't look like he'd rushed. His dark suit was immaculate, not a thread out of place. His movements were unhurried, almost casual, as he scanned the restaurant with eyes that cataloged everything in a single sweep. The elderly couple by the window, the businessman who'd suddenly found his laptop very interesting, the cook frozen in the kitchen pass-through, Tim and his friends still laughing, Mellisa soaked and exhausted in her wheelchair. Jordan's expression didn't change, but something in his stillness was more terrifying than anger could ever be. He walked toward Melissa's table, and the strangest thing happened. People moved. The businessman shifted his chair without seeming to realize it. The elderly couple suddenly decided they needed to leave, placing cash on their table and hurrying out. Even the air seemed to part for him. Tim's laughter died mid-sentence. Mellisa, Jordan's voice was quiet, almost gentle, but it carried across the restaurant like a bell. "You all right?" She couldn't speak, could barely breathe, just managed to nod. Jordan's gaze shifted to Tim and the boy, because that's what he looked like now, a boy who'd wandered into territory he didn't understand, actually flinched. "Gentlemen," Jordan said, pulling out a handkerchief and handing it to Mellisa with a movement so practiced it seemed choreographed. "I believe you've finished your meal." It wasn't a question. It wasn't even a command, really. It was simply a statement of fact, delivered with the absolute certainty of someone who'd never been contradicted. Tim's mouth opened, then closed. His friends were already standing, and Mellisa realized she'd just learned what real power looked like. It wasn't loud, it didn't threaten, it simply existed, and everything else rearranged itself accordingly. Jordan didn't move as Tim and his friends scrambled to their feet, nearly tripping over chairs in their haste to leave. He just stood there, a statue carved from patience and certainty, watching them fumble with their wallets and scatter bills across the table, far more than their meal had cost. Within 30 seconds, they were gone. The bell above the door chimed their retreat, and silence settled over Norman's kitchen like snowfall. Jordan pulled out a chair and sat across from Mellisa, his movements unhurried. Up close, she could see the details she'd forgotten from the hospital. The small scar above her left eyebrow, the silver beginning to thread through her dark hair, the way his eyes carried weight that had nothing to do with age. "You didn't have to come," Mellisa said softly. "Yes," Jordan replied simply. "I did." The businessman was packing up his laptop, moving slowly, trying not to draw attention. The cook had disappeared entirely into the kitchen. They were effectively alone. "Who are you?" The question escaped before Mellisa could stop it. "Really, I mean, because nobody moves like that. Nobody makes people leave just by existing." A ghost of a smile crossed Jordan's face. "I'm someone who pays his debts." "The puppy wasn't a debt, You risked everything for something helpless, without thinking, without calculating the cost. Do you know how rare that is?" Mellisa thought about the rainy street, the whimpering, the moment she'd made the choice to run.
I couldn't just leave him there. Exactly. Jordan's eyes held hers. That's why the watch isn't charity, Mellisa. It's recognition. You saved something precious to me. You paid a price you never should have paid. And in my world, that creates a bond that doesn't break. Your world? Mellisa repeated. The one where you make people disappear with a look? The one where loyalty matters more than law, Jordan said quietly. Where debts are sacred, where a promise is carved in stone. And suddenly, Mellisa understood. This wasn't about pity or guilt. This was about code, an unbreakable one that existed in spaces the law couldn't reach.
I want you to quit this job, Jordan said, and Melissa's spine stiffened. No. His eyebrow rose slightly. Mellisa, this restaurant is all I have left of my family. Her voice was firm despite the tremor underneath. My uncle built this place, raised me here. Every smell, every photograph on these walls, every crack in that vinyl booth, that's my history, my identity. I'm not giving it up because some punk kids think I'm easy prey. Jordan studied her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. A real smile, warm and genuine. Good. Good? I needed to know you wouldn't fold. He leaned back in his chair. The watch isn't about making you dependent, Mellisa. It's about giving you options. You chose to stay, to fight your own battles. That's strength. But you also chose to press the button when the battle became too much. That's wisdom. Mellisa looked down at the watch on her wrist, seeing it differently now. Not a leash, not a mark of ownership. A tool, a choice. Those boys will talk, Jordan continued, his voice taking on a harder edge. Word will spread, and nobody who knows my name will bother you again. Because they'll be afraid of you? Yes. No apology in his tone, no shame, just fact. Mellisa thought about Tim's face when Jordan had spoken, the way he'd gone pale, scrambled to leave. She should feel guilty about that, maybe, should feel bad about wielding that kind of power by proxy. She didn't. What about people who don't know your name? She asked. Jordan reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. Plain weight, just a phone number, no name. They will, and if they don't, you call this number. Someone will always answer. Mellisa took the card, her fingers brushing his. Why? Why go this far for someone you barely know? Jordan stood, straightening his jacket. Because 4 months ago, a stranger saw a dying puppy and didn't walk past. She didn't calculate odds or assess risk. She just acted. Pure, selfless, beautiful. His eyes held hers. People like you are rare, Mellisa, worth protecting, worth the effort. After Jordan left, Mellisa sat alone in the empty restaurant, watching dust motes drift through afternoon sunlight. The water stain on her jeans had already started to dry. The scattered bills on Tim's abandoned table caught the light. Guilt money, fear money, the price of learning a lesson they'd never forget. She should clean up, should get back to work. The dinner rush would start in a few hours. Instead, she wheeled herself to the wall of photographs, decades of Norman family history, captured in fading Polaroids and creased snapshots. Her uncle's graduation, her first day working the register, gap-teethed and proud. Family dinners, birthday parties, the small, beautiful moments that built a life. 6 months ago, she'd lost the ability to walk, lost the future she'd imagined for herself, lost the easy comfort of moving through the world without barriers. But sitting here now, looking at these memories, Mellisa realized she hadn't lost everything. She'd discovered things too, depths of strength she didn't know she possessed, the difference between pity and respect, the value of choosing your battles and knowing when to accept help. The watch on her wrist caught the light and she smiled. Jordan was right. It wasn't about dependence, it was about options, about having someone in her corner who saw her not as broken, but as brave, not as a victim, but someone who'd acted selflessly when it mattered most. The bell above the door chimed, and a regular customer walked in, Mrs. Patterson from 3 blocks down.
"Hey, sweetheart, your usual special today?" "Always," Mellisa said, grabbing her notepad and wheeling toward the kitchen. "Let me get that started for you." As she moved through the familiar space, her uncle's restaurant, her family's legacy, her choice to keep going, Mellisa understood something fundamental had shifted. She wasn't defined by her wheelchair, wasn't limited by her injury, wasn't alone in the world, even though her family was gone. She was Mellisa Norman. She'd saved a life without hesitation. She'd earned the respect of a man whose world operated by codes most people never understood. She'd faced down cruelty and come through it stronger. And she wore a watch with a red button that meant no matter what happened next, she'd never have to fight completely alone. That wasn't weakness. That was wisdom. And as the dinner rush began to filter in, filling Norman's kitchen with warmth and noise and life, Mellisa found herself looking forward to tomorrow for the first time in months. Whatever came next, she'd handle it. One way or another, she always did.